Okay, hello. Thank you so much, Natalia and Darshana, for the amazing introduction, which we now have to live up to. But thank you so much for that. So, hi everyone. I hope all of you are having a wonderful conference of your life, if not at least of the year 2023. I'm very sure. So, my name is Lynn, and today I will be the moderator for these conversations. And I must say, it is my privilege to be able to moderate among the three best CEOs that I know so far. And this is going to be an amazing conversation. But in order for you to come along our conversation, I think I need to introduce what is SIEP first. So let me just do a really quick basic introduction with a real life example, and then we will dive into all the amazing experiences. So what is SIEP? As Darshana mentioned earlier, S is for spirit, which is you. I is your intellect, which is your thinking capability. E is your emotions, and P is your physical senses. So physical senses are like your eyes saw something, I heard something, I felt something. So this, in short, is what the acronym SIEP stands for. So let me give a real work example that I experienced in trying to understand and practice SIEP as well. So basically, I was trying to organize, as a change and engage specialist, I was trying to organize a platform, a workshop at my workplace. A team of us were trying to organize it to meet and decide the plans for next year. So the organizing team, we sat down together and we actually designed a certain message that should be going out to the community. So we designed it together, right? And then we agreed that person A, like my colleague, would actually send out the invite and send this message along with it. A day later, the meeting comes in. The timing of the meeting is 2 hours and 20 minutes, not the 3 hours that we agreed. And the email message body is completely changed from whatever we discussed 2 days ago. So what happens to me? First things first, my eyes saw the email. I remember what happened. I was straight away, my emotions, I was so angry. Like, why didn't you keep to our promise? Like, hey, we did this as a team. You didn't play as a team. That's all the emotions are coming through my mind. And nobody likes to be wrong, right? So my intellect kicks in and it's like, yeah, that guy, last time I also heard somebody says this about him, that about him. So therefore I'm right. So I should be angry and I should scold him. This is the PEIS version of what we do. Not what we do, but at least 99% of us practice react most of the time. However, let's just take the same scenario and turn it, if we practiced it in the SIEP manner, how would it look like? So what I did is to deep breaths. Of course, I need to consult my mentor and my friends and like, hey, am I thinking the right thing? Am I feeling the right thing? And, so, I mean, there's many ways to do it, but it's how I chose to do it. So in the end, the decision that I take, like S, we start from S. So me, I actually like this guy because I've worked with him on other projects. We have been successful and we had lovely conversations over lunch. So it does not so much, here's where my intellect kicks in. It does not make sense that he purposely wants to sabotage the team's work, correct? Something doesn't make sense. So my emotions is a bit calmer and now it turns from anger to curiosity. Oh, what's happening? So P, physical action. What do? I actually went up to him and say, hey, friend, we did this. When you send the email like that, it made me feel like a bit sad because you didn't do what we said you would do. And why did you end the meeting at such an odd time, 11:20 a.m.? You guys will never believe the truth I found. He was laughing at me because he said, hey, Lynn, I'm so sorry. I didn't even know I ended the meeting. It was a typo error. So the meeting was supposed to be 9 a.m. to 12 noon. He wanted to type 12. He typed 112. That's how you ended up at 11:20 in the morning. So we ended up both of us laughing. Imagine if I stayed angry at him for such a silly mistake, right? So not worth it. And then I asked about the email. Then he said the email, his intention, he wanted it to be more friendly, to be able to connect to the people on the ground. But he didn't lose the messaging. He just changed all the words. And when he explained it to me like that, and my emotions is calm, correct? So I physically took an action to reread his words, and it's true what he said. He kept the essence of the message, and more people connected to us as a group because of his more friendlier tone and things like that. So, I mean, it's just a simple example. It's not perfect every time. I still fail from time to time, but this is one of the examples I managed to make it work, and we had a lovely friendship after that. It just continues on to other projects really nicely. So I hope this gives you a very basic idea what SIEP is, but for more advanced level, let's start with Valsala, CEO of Globetrotter. Over to you. Okay, my first question. Okay, let me start with questions and we will hear their stories. So can you share with us, Valsala, a little bit, what are your experiences of practicing SIEP in team building?
Okay. Where do I start? So, what's my experience of practicing SIP in team building? Over the last 10 years of working with people, I realized, I mean, I know this earlier, but I realized it becomes that people are very complicated. And, and one scenario, that's why SIP works differently in different scenarios. Okay. And as you practice it, you go deeper into it. Not because you're smarter, because um, you see more. The essence of it is more. For example, okay, lately, there was a project that I was working on, and I've delegated this project to my team. Last 2 years, they were doing it really well, and so I assume, what, this year they'll be doing it. It's a recurring project. Every year we do this, so they'll do that. And this year, particularly, I've been traveling a lot. So since I've been traveling a lot, um, I have not been monitoring how this project is going. Okay. And then 2 months or no, almost a month before the project is like going to complete and all, I realized nothing's done. So, the people who are normally doing it, they are not doing it either. And it's like, I have to start again. I have to do everything. So it's like the tendency is to say, what's wrong with you guys? Why haven't you all done that? Every year you all do this, right? So what's wrong? Just because I didn't see it, I didn't monitor you all didn't. So it's like the first instinct is to get angry with people, because my old habit pattern is to find fault. That means it must be somebody else's fault. Okay, but SIP means, it says, if this thing has happened, that means nature intended it to happen. Okay, I need to accept this first. So it's not very difficult, no, because my mind keeps saying, but this fella knows how to do this one. Why he didn't do this? Why they didn't check with this? There's like 5 of them. Why didn't they look at it? So it's like it's very difficult to accept the fact that this has nothing to do with all of them. This is nature telling me something. So the first SIP that I do is, nature is telling me, don't trust all these fellas. I should do things on my own. Wrong. Nature never tell you to do this kind of strange things. All that means I also know it's my intellect is faulted. The logic that is telling it looks logical, correct, but there's still emotions infused in it. And this was my old habit pattern many years ago. If things don't work out, I'll just take it and do it myself. So it's going back to this. So I have to like calm down and all. You cannot do SIP when you are emotional. When you're emotional, like what Lynn explained just now, you are reacting to your senses. So I'm just, so one after, it's like when things go wrong, it doesn't go one thing. So it's like, emails not sent out, bookings not made. So, and then when I see last minute, oh, the hall no more available. So it's like everything, like, first, so I do SIP. Okay, never mind. It's okay. It's okay. I understand. The team is all looking at different things. I also didn't look at it now. But after a while, at a certain point, I was like, no, I can't handle it anymore, because I need to scold this team. Okay. That's when I realized I need to seriously do SIP, which means I need to calm down first. You cannot tolerate the in this incident. You must really understand it. So the first level is to accept nature is teaching me. This is nothing to do with these people. As much as I say this in theory, right, it's not easy to do this in practice. I have to go and talk to somebody. As much as I'm an expert, we all say we are expert because we can help someone else. But when it comes to ourselves, we sometimes need to ask for help, because somebody else can point out the things that your mind doesn't want to see. Okay. So when I looked at it, the SIP was, it needs to be the whole thing, the whole project is now going on auto run. There's no innovation in it. So I need to do something different going forward. That means the way the project has been run for the last 3 years is not working anymore. It's showing a very clear sign that I need to do something different. And this something different cannot be done by the existing team. I need to get involved. That was actually the message. Okay, when I calmed down and I looked at it and all. And it's nothing to do with them. It has nothing to do with them at all. It is just that um, it's a mistake that I should have seen this like maybe 2 months ago. So now you do how to say, damage control lah. You do damage control. You do the project as what you can, but and basically don't make the team feel bad, because nobody made any mistake here. It's how it's meant to be. Okay, so it's like, work each of the team, see their strength. They have done this so well for the last 3 years. Bring out that strength again. Do whatever that can be done for this project. But going forward is a clear sign this will not work. you need to do something else. So a lot of times, if you really do SIP well, you will see you will embrace the change. There will be innovation, there'll be different, that means there'll be signs from nature itself, through people, through incidents, on how to move forward, if you don't get angry and blame them. So the team, if I look at it, okay, the team is doing their fine only. It's just that I didn't see that things have changed. Trends in Malaysia have changed. This project has to be tweaked in a certain manner. My experience has changed, so the team's experience also have changed. I had to bring in new people, so it's like I need to basically go back to the drawing board and look at things differently.
Wow,
Yes.
that's a really amazing story, Vasa. Thank you for sharing that. It's not easy to handle yourself emotionally, especially when your team, it perceive like your team doesn't do
Okay.
very well.
Yes. Okay. Sorry, I need to interject this. Okay. I was so want to go and scold them.
Yes.
So want to scold them. Okay. But if I did scold them, right, I will ruin the relationship I have with them. I'll ruin the project. I will not see the innovation part. I will think it's somebody's mistake. It's either theirs or mine. Both also actually it's not. It's just that maybe I could have caught it earlier. Okay, but I got it now already, right? We can do something about it because I have an awesome team. We will do something awesome this year. But it's showing me a clear sign you cannot do this auto run anymore. You have to innovate for next year. You have to change things. So it's like basically this is a indirect resistance to change.
Yes, it is a very, very strong resistance to change indeed. Okay, thank you so much for that, Vasala. On that note, I think it's very nice segue to invite Harsha as well to share some of her experiences that's sort of related to this, but in a slightly different angle, because in our pre-interview, Harsha was sharing with me, she has an amazing, how do I say this? A point of view. When you start thinking about yourself, you're actually off the goal. Wow, it took me some time to understand that, but I will let Harsha explain her experience, share her experience.
Wow, thank you, Lynn. I think, part of my experiences with SIP, and SIP has been a very important tool that I think, all of us are still trying to learn and apply. As you mentioned in the beginning, it's not something that, you can go to school, you can learn it in theory, and then tomorrow you become an expert in it. Managing your emotions, I think, is the hardest thing for anyone at any level to do. And it's an ongoing process. So for me, at least, one of the biggest shifts in how I've been looking at SIP and how I've been looking at my team in general has come over the last year as well. And primarily, this is because as an entrepreneur myself, our team has been going through kind of the phase where we shift from an early stage startup to an organization, which is not the same thing. When you run a startup, there's a few of you, all of you get involved in every single project you're running, you're discussing, everyone's at the same place at the same time. It's a lovely feeling. But at the same time, as the organization grows, as it matures, naturally things get more complicated. Your impact grows, your operations grow, and naturally your team has to grow as well. So at once where, it's just the four of us founders running around doing things, now we each have our own teams. We're coordinating, in different elements of the projects we run. One person looks at operations, another person looks at fundraising, another person looks at marketing. So we have very different lens. And though we still work together very well, as the person leading this organization, there's a different approach to team building that I have had to take. Primarily in realizing that in most situations, half of the issues come not because there's any real problem, but because people want to feel included. That people want to feel that they are, responsible for the change, for the good things, for the bad things that's happening. And these people include me. So one of the biggest lessons that I've learned in a sense is when you have a project running, it's not always about you. And the moment you start making it about you, that's when you know you're no longer giving your best to your team, your organization, and the people around you. Everyone starts off a great leader. When you launch a project, everyone is in the same space. Everyone agrees, okay, this is the goal, this is the vision. But at least for me, during some of the projects that we had this year, or at least one of the few projects we had, as I started progressing with the team, naturally conflicts of opinion arise. And naturally, you have different thoughts of how things should be executed, different points of view. And it's very easy to say, no, I've done this before, you should listen to me. Oh, no, I think it should be done this way. Or I'm in charge, you should do this. And there's two ways that you can look at it. Number one, if your team listens to you, that's still it about being you. It's about doing your ideas, implementing, the things that you want. Or even if they don't do like what you say to do, it's about being the kind of leader who will support them full-heartedly in their way of doing things. Even if it's not, in your perception, the right way to do it, or if it's not the most efficient way, it's giving them the full faith and trust that they may know better than you, and that you will work with them with the full extent of your capabilities to do that. But of course, it's not easy. So that's where SIEP kicks in. So, like, I remember there was one meeting with a teammate of mine, and we had both been, I was working on this project for a much longer period of time. She was someone new we were bringing in. And she was giving all of this feedback and all of these things that she was saying, okay, we should do this, we should do that, we should do this, we should do this. And I remember thinking, but you don't really know what this project is about. You don't really understand, the way that we've done it before. But she had a lot of this feedback, and I thought, okay, you know what? SIP, all right? If I can just listen to this, I can get upset and say, no, you don't understand. And I can use my intellect and justify why I am right. But if in that situation, I am not learning, and it's really not about the goal, it's not about this person growing, it becomes about me. So I said, okay, you know what? What's my end goal here? I want the best solution for the organization. I want this team to grow. Even if this person doesn't have the experience to do it the way I did it, or my team used to do it, maybe they have a different point of view. Maybe they will do something even better than what my team and I would normally do. So in that process, I said, okay, S, if this situation is happening, it's probably nature giving us new people, new ideas, new things that we can do to hit our larger goal of creating change, impacting 1 million teams. If they are telling me, okay, these ideas and everything, what is nature trying to tell me? If this feedback keeps coming to me, what can I improve? What are the things I need to be doing differently? How can I support people with different ideas from me? And again, in emotions, the most important thing to do as a leader is always make sure your team feels that you are supporting them. I've made this mistake many times where my team doesn't feel that I'm physically there or present, or that they don't feel like, I 100% support what they do. And what that will only do, it doesn't affect, even if it doesn't affect your work outcome, it will just make your team more and more uncomfortable to ask for help. And for me, what I've been trying to do a lot more this year is to spend a lot more time, talk to people, really, give them the respect and the ideas and, the power to try things out. And if it doesn't work out, work with them to find solutions. Don't sit there and wait for them to come and say, yep, you were right, because nobody will ever come and do that. And know that and work with them accordingly. And I've noticed that as I started doing this, that project that, this person was working on that didn't work out the way like they wanted it to work out, eventually we were able to create something much better out of it, something much more exciting. So again, for me, the conclusion of my ongoing lesson is, it's not about you. The moment you feel like, oh, this person should come and tell me that I was right, or the moment you feel like this person doesn't know what they're talking about, or even if you feel like this person is too new to understand what is happening, all of these things make it about you. Because as a person in the organization, as someone who founded the organization, you feel that you know better, even though that may not always be true. Your role would have changed. Someone else may have more experience in a certain area, or someone else just might be the person you're trying to impact, and they just may have more understanding of it. And always, SIP for me has to go back to, if this feedback is coming to me, what is my end goal? What do I want out of this? What is the outcome I want from this conversation? And what is the larger goal I want? And from there, as long as you don't keep going back into, what are my feelings? What are things that I'm doing? You can do SIP a little bit more easily. At least that's my 2 cents.
Thank you so much, Asha. That's actually a really nice shift that you actually made there. It's not about you, but it's about the angle and the goal of the teams and things like that. I'll just take a 30-second pause here and address the audience. If you guys have any questions or any comments for any one of us here, especially the three of them, please do put it in the chat, and we'll pick it up and address your concerns or your questions. Okay. So just before we go over to Joyce, Harsha, I just want to ask you, it's like not about you, but you've been so used to being you, not you as in Harsha, but just generically someone who has learned so much, who has so much knowledge and experience. It comes with a lot of ego, not the arrogance ego, but the ego that you learned and you gained the knowledge. How do you have any advice how some others who are facing this can address that in making the same shift that you did?
No, it comes with a lot of arrogance too, Lynn. I'll correct you on
Okay,
that.
okay.
Because when you're young, it's a double-edged sword. On one side, everyone will tell you,
Yeah.
"Wow, you're so great! You good job! You did all of this." On the other hand, nobody will actually want to take instruction from you when push comes to shove. So it's on one hand, people when things are going when something good happens, they'll give you way too much credit. When something bad happens, even if you know how to solve it, nobody wants to listen to you. So it's a double-edged sword in that sense. And you have to be able to act accordingly in each of those places. And the first thing you have to know in both situations is you're actually never as smart as you think you are. And I'd say this to myself, but I'm sure it applies to others out there in a sense. No matter however smart you think you are, knock it down to you because you're really not that smart in a way. And I feel like at least for me, if I maintain that mindset, you can, like it's easier for me to do things. And again, it always goes back to the goal. Like if you read the news, I'm sure all of you are like if you read Malaysian news, you would have seen in the last few weeks all of my co-founders every single week are out in the news. And I'm having the time of my life. My social media has never been better. I'm like, guess what's happening today? My co-founder is on Sun newspaper. Guess what happened today? My co-founder won this award in a sense. All three of them, and they're so amazing. I absolutely love them. I'm so happy to see them like out there getting the recognition they deserve. But someone asked me, Harsha, don't you feel bad that the last few weeks you never came out and everything? I said no. I feel very happy because one of the things is a few years ago I was very popular. People would tell my story, and in that moment, one of my mentors told me this: if you are having that moment where people are giving you respect, where people are giving you, a lot of praise and everything, enjoy the moment, but remember it's just the moment. And like this moment, it will pass. When it passes, don't go back and say, I wish I had all of this. I wish people thought good of me and everything. No, go to the next moment. So now I'm in a moment where I have to meet a lot of new people. My role now in Ascendance is we meet people internationally and we try to work out international partnerships to continue our global impact. This is not always easy because as much as people like what we do in Malaysia, it's like starting from scratch in a different part of the world. If you want an event with 15 people, you have to go and meet each 15 people and ask them and beg them and plan their schedules to bring them for the event. If you want to, meet someone, they don't know anything about you. They're going to interrogate you. They're going to tell you it's a bad idea. They're going to tell you this is not going to work. It's not going to do this. Everything that happened to us when we started is happening again. And I mean that at a higher level, so I'm not going to complain. In this moment, I can say why people don't respect me, why people don't do this, why people they don't appreciate my experience and everything. But again, what is my end goal? If my end goal is, again, I want my organization to grow, I want our impact to grow, naturally my focus goes there. And I know that even this moment will pass. There will come a time where people will say good things about you. There's going to come a time where people question you. And if you accept both of it as part of the process, and you accept both of it as things that are normal, your focus won't be on either of that. Your focus will be back on what is your goal? What is the thing that you actually want to achieve? And that's when that's the beginning of SIP to me. Because until you realize that, again, it's not about you. It's not about what people think about you. It's not about what, people don't like about you. It's about the goal. You will never be able to grow and you'll never actually achieve that goal. Like I had a meeting recently. After the meeting, it's a very big meeting. I prepared for 2 weeks for the meeting non-stop. I did slides, I did printouts, I prepared everything. I went in for the meeting, and in my opinion, it was a terrible meeting. I came out of this meeting feeling like, oh my gosh, I did not give my best. I did not perform like as well as I could. It didn't go according to my plan at all. And I was feeling so down about it. And I called my mentor. My mentor said, snap out of it. It's not about you. You went in, you did the meeting. How is it productive now saying, oh, I didn't do a good job. I didn't do this. I didn't do that and things like that. You should be thinking, what can I do next? What is the next thing towards my goal? Don't go into this victim mode. Because if you go into this victim mode, you are making this whole organization about you when it could be anything else. Your job is to go and do the work. It's not to get emotionally involved and take things personally. And again, if you can just focus on that end goal, naturally that emotion resides and you can do that SIP a bit better.
Nice, nice. So for me, it's really about staying humble and staying very focused on the end goal. Thank you, Harsha. Okay, so that's very nice. I'm still very much in Harsha's story, but let's come and let's go talk to Joyce for a little while. She's an amazing CEO of Simply Empowering, which does outsourcing, accounting, and business advisory. I think you can hear from my words also. It is a very for the lack of a better word, a very traditional industry. It's not like a YouTuber or a TikToker kind of thing. But I've heard Joyce's story in the pre-interview, and she's developed amazing young leaders. And it's very interesting how she practices her SIEP in that field. Joyce, can you please share some of it with us as well?
I'm so amazed with the other two speakers. I don't know what else to share, actually. Okay. I guess for me, my journey of building a team, it took me a long time because I started off doing things all on my own. I do the accounts alone. I built my client base alone and things like that in a way. But of course, with the guidance of my mentor and things like that. So the idea or the crucial thing about having a team comes when I want to go on a holiday and I couldn't go because I need to finish up my work at a certain time. As you know, there's certain filing timing for accounts. And most CEO or the management wants their accounts on a monthly basis, and then you need to actually finish it then. So it come to a point like, okay, I need to go for, I would like to go on a holiday with a peace of mind. So I will need someone to actually work on the thing. So that's how I slowly, recruited some people, some freelancers to actually start doing my work, the work that I do. And at the same time, I train them. And then later part when, one of my, one of my major partner or currently my junior partner, when she came in, she was very young. She don't know much and things like that. But I can see that she seems to like to do accounts, which is very surprising in the beginning, because a lot of youngsters they don't like that kind of thing. But of course, after a while, they don't like the tedious work of all the data entry and stuff like that. She moved on to more towards advisory, and she's one amazing person when it comes to planning on workshops, which I wanted to share on the projects that we actually work on. There was one time we wanted to work on something different, something new, whereby we actually conduct workshops to enhance the skills of existing or accounts professionals. Okay, because a lot of them they are only at a certain level or they only know certain parts of the accounts, and we thought, why not we also share our skills and experiences with them so that they can up their skills, and also for the new graduates, it's something new that they can learn along the way. But this is something that we have never done before. Okay, it's not that I have done before this type of things. So when they come and ask me, what to do, so I had to come up with something lah. It's like they think that you know everything, and you actually come to say, okay, let's try this and try that, and frankly, at that time, they were kind enough to actually say, okay, let's just try it. And they don't dispute that, whether it's going to work. They don't question whether it's going to work or not. So we just work on the thing. And the first workshop I think we had 3 participants and 3 trainers. So it is something that is very interesting for me. But at the end of the workshop, we find that, oh no, I don't think this will work. But we continue on to actually come up with new ideas, and this is where the shift came. I turn towards them and say, okay, what do you think will work? Okay. I mean, at that time when it didn't work, it can come to a very, very, how to say it, a very ugly situation where we start blaming each other for not working on the thing properly. We didn't do the marketing, we didn't come up with the good content or anything like that. But all of us actually just sat and say, okay, what can we do next and things like that. So this is more on one side of practicing the SIEP, where you don't start blaming people. I may not explain it the way they explain it. More for us, like, okay, this doesn't work. Let's just work on something else that it may work better. And along the way, we actually come up with something very, very beautiful. And our first workshop, the major change that we wanted to do was just before COVID, and then we had to shift everything online. And imagine that, for me, it's like, how are we going to do this online? But my fellow associates were saying, oh, let's do this. I was looking, okay, how are we going to do this? But, I just have faith in them that they actually can try it. Let's just try it. And my role actually changed from being the how do I say, the planner for what the workshop is. It's more on the content part, what actually works and things like that. The marketing is done by someone else and things like that. So we actually come to a very perfect team in a way. And along the way, it's like, of course, things doesn't work out here and there and things like that. And then suddenly somebody suggested one huge element where everybody has to go in and work on the thing. And in a way, it's like when these things happen, any one of us can just say, hey, it's a lot of work, let's not do this. Everything else has worked fine, why do we want to change that? But if you come from the, when you look at the SIP kind of scenario whereby something new is coming, new inputs comes in and things like that, what can we work on this? So everybody just jump in and you just work out the thing. Okay, so the part about the SIEP in this scenario is that for me is basically I've always been the one they ask for ideas to lead the thing and things like that. So when it comes to the time where I had to stay quiet and listen to them, it's not very easy. But I see the outcome, the progress that they have done, the amazing work they do, then it become very much easier. When new ideas, okay, what do y'all think? And they'll come up with brilliant ideas. And sometimes we will just brainstorm certain things, what we can do and what we do and things like that. Or maybe we shift it to the next thing and things like that. Then I realized something about building a team and also a new projects in a way. The newer people or the younger people seems to more connected to what is required out there, because the working force are now the younger people. I'm not at the generation where I can understand them fully. So by allowing them to actually lead, and it's actually a very wise business decision in a way for me, they actually managed to build a income stream that is actually currently very continuous for us. Okay, on that part is one part. I think on another one, I just want to share something on. There are times where when we are in the business for a very long time and we lead for a long time, we think that that we can never do anything wrong, right? Because we are more experienced and things like that. But I just want to share one incident where something happened and I wasn't performing up to par, and there are certain backlog of work and things like that. Okay, and the pressure and the stress is, I tell you, so tremendous that I don't know what to do. And eventually I went to my mentor and he said, go and talk to your team and work something out. This is when SIAV really comes into play, because it's like you need to go to your team that you build that I need help. It took me a long while before I managed to actually call for a meeting and tell them that I'm so sorry. I really messed up this thing and I really need their help for it. And because of the relationship that we had previously, they were so nice. They say, okay, let's see what we can do. And they actually, together, we actually managed to clear out whatever that I, mess up. They actually helped me through the whole thing. And I'm very thankful for this SIAP tool, because without that, I would probably do something stupid, right? Or do something very, very strange or whatever it is, and continue on not thinking that, I can actually ask people for help for this. All right. So with that, in a way, it's like Vatala said, and also Harsha said, nature is teaching me something. For me at that time, it's like, okay, there are people who care for you. There are people who are willing to help you. So you just need to go and ask. And hopefully the next time, don't wait until last minute before you ask. Okay, before the problem become very big, when you really need help, just go and ask. people are there to help you as well. Okay, so that's my sharing on the SIEP for the team building. Hopefully, it helps some of you guys out there. Okay, thank you, Lee. Over to
Thank
you.
you so much, Joyce. Your story also very beautiful, and what it really brings to light for me is what my mentor used to tell me, which I didn't understand then, but I understand so much more better with your story. Is that vulnerability here is a strength. So in the sense of admitting you made a mistake, saying you're sorry, asking for help. I mean, it's other things as well, like being humble and things like that. But for me, your vulnerability stands out a lot more. And thank you so much for highlighting that, in your story.
I
So
want to add in something with
go
Joy's
ahead.
story. I want to add in something with Joy's story. Uh, I've been in a situation same like Joyce, right? You build the team from young, they've grown up, they've son. But then later when you make a mistake and you want to go back and tell them, right? It's not easy asking. It's not really ego, It's I don't know how to explain this, but it is like it's a generational thing. So a lot of times, it's like the older generation when you start off work, right? You don't know anything, so you look up to them. But at certain point, you are in power. You are even better than them because the younger generation because they are actually more connected. But it's nice when everyone does SIP. So it's not only I do SIP, my team does SIP as well. So when I make a mistake, they are not like ha ha ha. You see, that's why it's like it's not like that. But they also understand because when somebody makes a mistake, everyone has to um, clean up the mess. Okay, and so it's like it's nice when the whole team can do SIP as well.
Yes, that's very nice. Thank you.
I'm sorry if
There
I can just
are
add to Val's
okay.
last one
Go
really
ahead, but
quickly. There's, I think there's something really to be said about having a team that is in sync and that does SIP. And I think like, this is one of the conversations we have, which is kind of like if you can even just get like they call herd immunity when it was coming to the vaccine. In a sense. When enough people in your organization uh, practice SIP or can manage their emotions well, naturally that becomes the culture of your organization. Like I remember one of the good things about Ascendance is that we have a fabulous team at Ascendance. Like I love our team because everyone is always so focused. And when a crisis happens, nobody is sitting there getting upset. Everyone goes straight into SIP. Everyone goes straight into finding solutions. So we've been in some hilarious situations, some not so hilarious situations. Like I remember there was one time there was this because we work with students, right? There was one student who I think had an incident where some of the shoes in our office were pushed off the roof, and this could have become a incident where people get upset and angry and things like that. But I think some of you are there. The thing about our team was all of us just looked at each other and said, "Okay, what can we do now? You can do this, I can do this, I'll handle this, you handle this, we do this, you do that." To a point where even the parents that like even if they were going to get upset with us, even they were like, what do we do now? We're not getting upset. We are managing our emotions. We're finding solutions. So if you can get enough people in your team to be able to do this SIEP process consistently enough to the point where it becomes autopilot, then naturally you will have a very high performing team because when a crisis occurs, nobody is sitting around pointing at each other. Everyone is going straight into work and it will even affect your clients. It will even affect the people around you. Eventually, yes, in the shoe situation, we sorted it out, everything was fine. But in so many other situations as well, when your team can do it automatically, that energy that they create infects the others who maybe are not in your organization that you have to deal with and you have to manage as well.
yeah, that's certainly not easy to do. We do have a number of questions and comments coming in from the team as well. So let's take one or two of it and go from there. So Dina asked, maybe at some point criticism happens in your team. So how do you manage your emotions after being critiqued? I think that resounds very well with the story you just shared. Harsha, is that okay? Suddenly everybody's thrown into a very difficult situation. How what is the best way to handle something like that?
Does anyone else want to take the question? Or
Sorry, I didn't get the question. What's the question?
The question is, how do you manage your emotions after being critiqued? Because at certain points, critique will happen in the team. So you receive criticisms from your team, and that
This one is
demoralizes your
very
team.
difficult, especially when you are the boss or when you are the older person and everyone is criticizing you and you were like, it worked before, but this is the main thing about SIP. the main thing about SIP is if you got emotional, something went wrong already. That means you're not listening. So the main thing is to do whatever you works for you. I don't know lah. You breathe, you meditate, you run around, or you go to the toilet and cry, or you do whatever lah. Once you cry, already means you're really emotional. So you have to let the emotions pass. Okay. Sometimes you don't have this time for emotions to pass in a meeting. So you're getting this feedback in the meeting, let's assume lah, and you're getting it from somebody younger, maybe somebody who just came and you're like, so you just have to breathe this comes with practice. It's not suddenly you become a master. It comes with a lot of practice. A lot of times you'll only realize this after you have reacted, but eventually you can catch it as and when it's happening. And then you can actually, you just have to breathe, and but not breathe like that's not breathing, that's reacting. Okay, but if you calmly breathe and let your intellect think actually what the person trying to say. If you remove the person, the tone, the voice, and all, what is actually the person saying? And if you know, sometimes you say God makes you a better person or nature makes you a better person, they're not going to come in your dreams or something. They might come through these people who are actually meaning well. Means one good thing you when you're receiving critiques, you have to remind yourself these are people who mean well. They love me. They love me enough to look like a bad person to tell me this. So what are they actually saying? And this is what I constantly remind myself. My team actually loves me. They love me very much. And they're taking the risk by saying this. What actually they're saying? Why are they saying this? And then when you see that, it's no more criticism. It's more of not everything people say is true. Okay, but sometimes there might be some truth in it. Or maybe it could be a different way of handling things.
If I can add just two things about criticism, I think there's two types of criticism you receive. Number one is from your team. And in terms of your team, and both of these advice people may not really like, but the first one, in terms of your team, there's one thing my mentor used to say in the beginning when we were all, couldn't agree. He used to say, celebrate your differences. And I think only now I'm understanding what that means. Because there's just going to be some people in your team that think very differently from you. And everything you will feel like everything you do they will have something to criticize or they won't be happy with it. If you have someone like that in your team, hold on to them closely. They are the most important member of your team. They are the one that you should be talking to every single day. Because the truth is, whatever criticism you get in the team, again, it is just you trying to make your product, your service, your plan, your campaign as best as it can be. There's only so much a human being can know. If you have three human beings with three completely different opinions working on the same project, that's amazing. You have 300% of a different client base covered within that one meeting itself. It's not easy, but if you can manage your emotions, that's why SIP is so important. That's what, like, so many discussions where we're working on a project and one team member will say, you're not, you are not doing this thing properly. Another team member will say, this thing you're doing too much. You should go and focus on another thing. So I'm like, oh my God, what do I listen to? But if you actually don't react and say, why are you giving me different instructions? Why can't we agree and things like that? If you don't listen to the tone of voice, the senses and all that, and again, you breathe, you do SIP, you go S, okay, what am I supposed to learn from this? Why is this happening? If my goal is to make this better, why do we have all these different opinions? They are obviously seeing something I cannot see. Good. Maybe I'm just blind in this direction. At least somebody can see it. And you feel grateful that they have a different opinion from you. And then you can start looking at, okay, how do we do it better? Then you can get excited. Then you can get into the implementation phase. Then the rest of it falls nicely. So as long as you can just accept, even if you're not agreeing with someone's criticizing you, just remember your end goal should be, by the end of this meeting, I understand what they're saying, they understand what I'm saying, and we've come up with something even better. So you're allowed to feel upset during the meeting, but by the end of it, what's your end goal? You should have that end goal so clearly, and if you can do that, you will be the best team ever. The other part of criticism is if you're getting it from external sources. If you are affected by criticism, all I can say is you are not getting enough criticism. You should get so much
Wow.
criticism. No, I'm not joking. You should go and meet as many people as you can that dislike your product, that dislike your services, that think you are a terrible, entrepreneur, employee, whatever. Because the more you meet them, the more you'll be able to answer questions like that they have. Because they will purposely ask you the hardest questions. They will purposely see things that you don't see. And the more you have conversations like them, you'll walk out feeling terrible, but your mind will get built. You will learn how. One of the another mentor of mine said, in the beginning stages, whenever you start a new project and you're meeting people, write it down. Every time you go for a meeting, write down physically or in your phone app or whatever exactly what were all the questions you couldn't answer. Write down exactly what were all the things that you didn't even think of. And if you keep meeting enough people who have criticism, you will find answers to these questions.
Okay, it's very, very nice, Harsha. Okay. So everybody, I hope you written down all the questions that all the instructions that Harsha said will be very helpful. There's so many lovely, lovely questions in the chat that I would love to address, but we're coming to the last 4 minutes of our panel. In this case, I would like to just make a round robin, starting from Joyce and then over to Harsha and then Vansala to just give your last words and advice for everyone who's watching our panel right now. Over to you, Joyce.
Well, a quick one. I guess when you practice SIEP, you need to have you need time to learn. In the beginning it'll be not so easy because you say, why everything is happening to me? Why can't they do this? Why can't your team be more efficient and things like that? And actually those are times where you look at it and say, hey, I was like that once upon a time. That's one. Two is like, what is it that I'm not doing that will make it more efficient? I think that question will always make me, less emotional and say, okay, let's find solution for whatever that they're facing. Why are they not giving me the things that I want and things like that?
Okay, Lynn gave me the second order, right? So Val's like, okay. For me, in a sense, it's very simple. When it comes to team building and SIP, uh, three main things. Number one, end goal, end goal, end goal. So like you must be focused on the end goal. What do you want this team to achieve? What's the big vision? And if every member of your team is focused on that, there will never be an unresolvable fight. There will never be an issue. If you cannot resolve your fight, go back to that end goal. But that end goal must be number one. Number two, be grateful for all the people who are different than you in your team. Be grateful because, again, all of us have things that we are not good at. All of us have things that we are not able to see. If you have someone in your team that can point it out to you, that is the best thing on the planet. Because it means that you're already miles ahead of people who are just sitting in their own friend group and thinking, oh my God, this is the best solution. And number three, when there is, when you are getting upset at people, and this is the hardest thing for me, half of the time, it's not anything that they did, it's the way you reacted to what they did. So you have to breathe, which is very hard. You have to do the SIP process one by one, understand that they did nothing wrong. It's you, not them. And find solutions, connect back to them. Don't build walls against people. Always try to go and reach out if you can.
I had two things, but after listening to Harsha, I forgot what is these two things. Okay, okay, now I remember. Whether you are a leader in the team or a team member, SIP starts with you. So you cannot do SIP for someone else. It's for you. Other people can look at how you're handling things and follow you. So you can be a role model whether you're a leader or not. If you're a leader, you definitely have to do SIP. If not, your whole team is going to go into chaos. Number two is, I don't think in history, SIP is, I mean, maybe not so long in history, but after the pandemic, one thing that is very certain is change. You can see, okay, if the change is not going to come economically, it's going to come technologically. Not technologically, it's going to be, the change is like in every direction. In school, in the way we learn, in the way we work from home. It's like so many things are changing. But change also brings a lot of emotions out. And if you cannot handle this, the change is going to be difficult for many people, many teams, many companies. But if you can do SIP, like what we did in the ETIS business incubator is during the pandemic, um, everyone went international because they evolved so fast online, but they learn from each other. So if you can change fast enough, if you use SIP, you will see the opportunities fast. You don't dwell on the situation too long. You don't go negative, but it goes into seeing opportunities and actually looking at looking at innovation, different opportunities. It'll be a very lovely process. Change becomes a lovely process then. That's it.
Okay, wow. Thank you so much for all that closing. And yeah, we have come to the end of our time already, although I'm very reluctant to leave this conversation. I trust some of our audience are very hungry because they're thinking so hard about all the things that we said, because I am hungry. But thank you so much for all the amazing advice and examples. And I think to that, we will close this panel now. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, everyone.